is the Starting Why podcast. Here we ask entrepreneurs, actors, investors, innovative, and artists on the why they are doing what they are doing, what motivates and drives them, and why can't they stop. We will start in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Starting Why. I'm here with Joe, and it is 2023.
A New
Hello,
Year.
Joe.
新年好.
Happy New Year.
There is the Chinese New Year coming up pretty soon, so I can say 新年好. What can you say?
新年快乐.
快乐 is in Mandarin happy. Is it the same?
It's the same.
Oh, I'm awesome.
I think your Chinese is better than mine.
No way. I don't know on even one curse word in Chinese, so yours is better than mine.
I'm really excited to be here and speaking with you about the new year and also this year. What inspires you for the beginning of the new year? Do you make any New Year's resolution?
Yes and no. I don't necessarily stick to the new year just to start something new. For example, people watching me on YouTube may have realized that I'm losing weight. Don't worry, I'm not sick. I started intermittent fasting because I was a little bit overweight, and that is something I just started from one day to another. Zack, I just decided I'll try it out. So I don't need 1 year to end and just to start something new. I try to always do it, not to keep it too dull. How about you?
I don't have New Year resolution. Usually I have an intention for the entire year, but I don't have anything that, like losing weight or gain 10 pounds or exercise more. I am doing those things. Anyways, I've started on it. And I think every day is a new year for me. So like I wake up and it's a new day. So it's a new year. And I think what is new this year for me, or that started last year, is I've been redefining my days and my hours. It has changed my life a little bit, but I don't know if it's still an experiment. So I don't know whether it's good and bad. For example, I redefine my day, so I have 2 days in one day. So like I have the morning day and the evening day for the day. And so after the first day in that day, I will basically have a break and I would evaluate that day. And then I would then begin my second day in that day. And then I also have a 12-week year. I think you guys might have heard about that on YouTube and whatnot. But 1/4 is my 1 year. And usually people do it one or the other. I am really efficient already, but I think I'm kind of killing myself by doing that, but it's been really interesting. So, like 1/4 is 1 year for me. So I would have goals, but not New Year resolution. Things I wanted to accomplish for that 1/4, and then for that 1/4, which is 1 year. And then, so I would have 4 years in 1 year. And my 1 year is definitely 2 years since I have 2 days in 1 year. It's been a lot of fun. It's very productive, and I don't recommend it because I think people might burn out. I'm just playing with it.
One question here. How many hours do you work each day to really have 2 days in one working day? Is it like a 16-hour day?
No, it just kind of depends. So before my 2 days in one day, I usually worked or play for the entire day. But you know that from a psychological perspective, you're not productive every hour. So I usually get into the flow. So my hours are completely different from people anyways. But so so it depends. Like sometimes you can expand and restrict time. Sometimes I would be on the computer for 1 day or the one day in that day. I would like do 2 hours, but I'm in the flow, so I got everything done. Then I would take a break, take a nap or whatnot, or go out. Then I would start the second day, And that second day could be, 5 hours, 10 hours, it could be 1 hour. So as long as I'm in the flow, I get things done. And my day has no like hour limitation. Because remember, time doesn't exist, and so you can expand time. I could be, like be on a computer for 2 hours and get, like normally 8 hours of things done, but I'm productive.
Mhm.
And another thing that I've done, and even before I redefine the days, is that sometimes I just need to do 3 things in one normal day, 24-hour day, and that's my day, right? So I think if you focus on the main task that you wanted to do, or time block stuff, then you could have your first day focusing on some of the 3 things, and then your second day focusing on like some of the other things, like executing certain things. Like it's been super productive. I've gotten probably things done for the entire year already. But I think, but I call it an experiment because I've like actually, like, and it's a little bit different because I've actually worked when I was managing a team, and like a dev team, and also like I think I did a lot of art and animation at 3 a.m. in the morning before, and it burns me out, right? So when I redefine my day, it really doesn't mean that you're on the computer basically all the time. I think when we think about the day, we think about morning and night, and then the meat of what you're doing. So I think if I'm going to the mall and get something to eat, that could be another day. But you have that kind of personal time and free time away from the computer where you can relax.
Personally, I also found that a definition of a day is pretty flexible for me.
Hmm.
What is very important for me is 2 things. First, I think I told you this, you and the listeners before. One thing I do is I got together with a friend of mine who is also a freelancer. And 1 hour each Monday, we have something we call the hour of the skunk. That is the
Hmm.
time when we hold each other accountable to do the things we least like to do. 1 hour
Oh,
each
that's
week.
awesome.
Yeah, that kept me quite recent on accounting. Plus,
Yeah, I think like bookkeeping and accounting. Oh
yeah,
my gosh, I've been doing that, and it's not like the most fun. Like I love Quicken, but doing it night and day is it's just a different story, right?
exactly. The other thing I've found is most productive if I have like a really paper-based to-do list just next to me
Hmm.
and I can cross out things. And I
Hmm.
start thinking, what should I do? And the most inconvenient, most important thing goes on top of the list, and it's the first thing I'll tackle. That really,
Hmm.
really worked out for me, even though I'm not the most productive guy, like in the early morning when I dropped off my oldest son in the kindergarten, but nonetheless, I can power through. And what I also realized is it gives me a lot of energy, and it actually
Hmm.
helps me to be a little bit more productive when I take in the afternoon after lunch my little boy in my baby stroller and take a little walk, like 30 minutes together with him. He gets a good
Hmm.
rest. He usually falls asleep, and I have time to like really cool down my brain, think of something new, or listen to other podcasters.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
something that
Awesome.
I do. I'm a little bit more stuck in the old like 1 year cycle. I like the idea of thinking about quarters as years. I have to admit, I have also already planned likely weeks when I'll take time off because I realized there's, like you said, there's nobody else watching out for you if you get a burnout or not. Making
Yeah.
sure you don't work more than like 12 hours a day. That is something
Yeah.
I did really, really badly in my first year as an entrepreneur. And that's why
I did the same thing.
yeah, I try to hold myself accountable not only for reaching my milestones, for fulfilling my to-dos, but also to really take time off. And admittedly, it's even a little bit more than would have been granted by my employers in consulting. But I also tend to work even more. So I think that's okay. Plus, what I also did is I have at least an idea when there are some important startup events that I'm at least considering to attend. So I have a big paper-based calendar here on the wall, and there's like one color all the potential vacations and one color all the events I'm going to attend.
Awesome. Yeah. I think attending events, those are really good breaks. I think when I first became an entrepreneur, I didn't realize because I wasn't attending a lot of events. I was mainly just on the computer working, and I would sometimes work until 3, 4 a.m., 5 a.m. in the morning. Like I
Mhm.
would have meetings, a tree would fall down, and I would still be having meetings and working. And then until I think one day I just couldn't get out of bed anymore, like literally. And I was animating and doing art in the middle of the night because I would have to manage people on the daytime. I had people in the office. So it was just very interesting, and that doesn't work. And I think a healthy balance between going to events, just meeting people, and and then also executing when you're in front of your desk kind of balances it. And I think it's a little bit, there's also an importance of being known, and I think, I think being known is something that I had to consciously work on because I never really cared about that until I think one day, one year, my intention was being known, and then I was just making YouTube videos because I was just like, oh, I don't care about being known. So this year I'm gonna work on being known. As an intention, but not as a New Year's resolution, because those are usually short lived. I think when you have an intention, there's not such a stressor if you don't meet it. But that's really what you wanted to tell the universe that you want it to do. So you actually have the power of the universe to help you. Whereas when you have a New Year resolution, you just basically were like, oh, at 5 o'clock I'm going to go to gym. And sometimes, after February or so, that's it. They don't really last. So I think that's what happened. But yeah, I went through the same
Mhm.
as you did.
And you've already talked about March, because what I usually do is I sit down towards the end of June and think about what I want to do and how far I've gotten, because there's nothing worse than having goals for half a year, 3/4 of a year that you already know you cannot achieve.
Yeah.
Therefore, I tend to do a lot of this work during the summer and also doing a lot of the preparation work, because I don't know if the same for you, but in July and August, it is less busy. So you have maybe 2 or 3 completely uninterrupted days a week we can really get stuff done, and that's something I really rely on. That is something I try to keep. That's why I'm for my main podcast, I'm not sticking to the schedule once a week. I have been toying with complete summer break, at least for the month of August, but it
Hmm.
turns out a lot of tools, a lot of apps basically kick you out when you don't do one episode at least every other week, every month. So
Yeah.
that is something I still have to do just in order to stay afloat, because then you really see it in September, in October, November, it completely goes through the roof. But then there is a quiet time shortly before the holidays. Everybody's busy, and then it goes up again.
Yeah.
That's at least my experience.
I agree with you. Even with the 12 week year, I think it was recommended that you take a break between the weeks as well. I mean, you can look it up. I think it's a popular thing.
Mhm.
I don't know whether it's healthy or not, but it allows you to reach concrete goals in a very short amount of time, which I think, we all want. But it's something to experiment with. I just experiment a lot because, like it may not work with you. Like when I was in college, I didn't really study that much, but I still do well. And that's what I realized too. Like when you're having fun, you tend to be more motivated. When I used to go out, I used to subconsciously think about my projects.
Mhm.
And when I actually sit down and write an essay, I just did it on the spot. Because having fun does something with your mind. You're basically in, really high vibrations, because you're going out, you're having fun, and you're meeting people. And so, and you're learning as you go and experiment the world versus being in front of the computer all day, being in the same environment. It's just a little bit different. And, I do encourage everyone to really experiment with different time and or lack of time because it's constructed, and see what works for you.
Mhm. Would actually also, that is something I learned, is usually you say when you go to an event, oh, for most people it's just a waste of time. Don't get me wrong, you don't have to attend like one event a week. I actually would not recommend that. But at least look for one big event each quarter. That is something I'm doing right now. And it kind of keeps the balance because, as you said, you're having fun, you're connecting to other people, you meet potential partners, new clients, whatever. You find somebody who tells you about this library of this and that, and you can use it in your coding or something like this.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah. Because if
It seems
you
like we're talking a lot about time
yeah.
today, and I think it's great because it's just timely, especially when it's the beginning of the year. What else do you want to discuss, Joe?
Goals. One of the biggest goals of this year is basically to reduce complexity and get rid of extra work. I'm trying to squeeze in 2 additional hours each week of sports. And I try to squeeze in like 1 hour with my little son each week. Just taking a walk with him in the baby buggy, in the baby stroller. But that is some time I have to take from somewhere else because I'm a family father. I cannot always stay up that late because in the morning I have to get up, get my kid ready for kindergarten. And so I basically have to work on a different frame. Let's call it a frame. I do have a steady frame through my family, and I have to fill in the gaps in between as best as I can. And I realize if I'm not 100% before the laptop all the time, before my computer screens, it is much more productive for me.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Plus, I do believe I can also squeeze out like 2 or 3 hours of basically the time that I need out of my work, just getting complexity to the absolute minimum and throw out extra work. For example, for my main podcast, I used to write newsletters in LinkedIn, in Substack, in MailChimp, and in WordPress, which basically filled a Friday morning. Now I got it pre-reduced. I write it in LinkedIn. I copy paste it, make a few adjustments in WordPress, make a few adjustments in Substack, and it goes out to thousands of people, and that's it.
Awesome.
And as you can tell, Michelle is recording from her home, and one of her family members just bumped in again. So we'll wait for her patiently.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My brother just bombed this.
I'm sure he didn't know, or he did it on purpose.
Yeah, he might have done it on purpose. I was, it's always hard having moved, and I'm visiting my family, so it's been awesome. I didn't get to see them during Thanksgiving or Christmas, so I'm spending time, with my dad and and my family. It's pretty awesome. I actually like California. Went to Palo Alto and a few places, and the food is beautiful. There's diversity of food.
How do you like the rain right now?
I don't think I think it's unprecedented. It's just never had rain like this before. We had like a level 5 rain in California, and it's been hailing, like raining little hail bumps, like in the morning. So it's been lucky too because I think it was stormy on Monday, but it happened in the current mostly in the evening and not in the daytime.
Oh, it always reminds me of a very old song with Louis Armstrong. Would you like to take a walk? He says, it never rains in California. That always is in the back of my mind when I hear in the morning while I'm taking a shower through my smart speaker. I hear a lot of different news outlets, including CNN, and they just recently always had coverage of the rains in California, like 25 counties under flood warning and stuff like this. I hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is, I do believe, a survival question. How do you plan to survive the next recession, the potential recession?
Yeah, I think like for me, since I've like do different things, I think I may be fine. I think there's a lot of layoff in the Silicon Valley and elsewhere. Since I'm are not employed anywhere, I think my lifestyle and everything is the same. So I think I'll be able to survive, and I haven't really spent a lot of money. So I think that's always pretty good.
So that means you're an entrepreneur, you don't have a real job.
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you think when when there's a recession? I just feel like as an entrepreneur, you're used to not spending a lot of money, not you know just what I mean. So I think the standard is a little bit different.
Yeah, it's basically, my life as an entrepreneur is like the complete opposite of what you see on YouTube, like the entrepreneurs with the flashy watches, the big cars, and the yachts. The complete different other page. I'm
Exactly,
yeah,
right?
I'm in my study, which is something like 12 square meters. It's really tiny, and basically square meters to feet. Oh, it's not even 130 square feet, my study, and I'm basically spending most of the time in here, like day and night. And sometimes I realize on the left, oh look, the sun is already gone again. So that's my life. The only thing I may have in common with the people on YouTube from time to time, so like once every other week on the weekend, I smoke a cigar. That's it.
I think my lifestyle is like no better than yours. I think as an entrepreneur, I mean, because I came from PayPal, which is a big company, right? So I think as an entrepreneur, I think you kind of learn, because I think one of the questions before I even kind of quit my job is how much do you need to survive? Because I used to live in a bubble, where you don't really know how much what is going on in the world, what people need, because you can, as an executive, you could do anything you kind of want. You can buy anything you want. And I think to begin with, even when I was at PayPal, I didn't really spend a lot of money anyways. So I think it was just an easier transition, because then I was trying to be a minimalist as well. So I don't really drive like fancy cars and whatnot. So I think my lifestyle is still the same. And so, to answer the question, whenever there's a recession, when you don't really need a lot of money for your lifestyle, it's a little bit the same, I think.
Mhm. Exactly. And you know what? You don't drive a fancy car. I don't own a car right now.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. I don't have a car
And you know what's
where I
also
live,
funny?
but yeah.
I don't own a car, and the bicycle I own is something an uncle of my wife gave me. So it's like 30 years old. I had some stuff redone, like lights and the brakes and stuff like this, but you can still tell it's a 20, 30-year-old bicycle.
Awesome. I love antiques though. I mean, sometimes like, like it took me a couple years to even upgrade my phone. I know it sounds really bad, but I had like I like an iPhone 11 and recently upgraded my phone. And like what I miss the most though is my like iPhone cover. Even though it's like so old, it's just like, oh, I just don't want to give it up, but you kind of have to, because then it no longer fits and it's just so old. You have to like dump it, but it just has so much, so like it has a lot of memory, because it's with you all the time wherever you go, right? Because it just kind of holds your phone. But yeah, I think like my recommendations for someone who's gotten laid off, and going through a recession is you just kind of resist spending a lot of money, I guess,
Mhm.
and see what is essential to you. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to spend money. Like For example, right? I think if you wanted to buy like a Louboutin, a very expensive pair of shoes, you know, and if that's important to you, do that, but what could you do otherwise? But I think if you do like 10, 20 things, that are the same priority to you, then it's like super different, right? I think recession is a time for us to prioritize, what we really want or need, and then kind of act accordingly, and then or find ways to start things, so that you can meet your own needs. I think if you want to buy like 20 Louboutin a month, and that's really your priority. But, you think of ways to actually make money during the recession, and provide value to people, that could be done as well.
Mhm. I also realized the phone that I own is more than 3 years old.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I have a, yeah. Mine was so old. Oh my gosh. It's just the only reason I upgraded is because there are certain things I can't do with the phone technology because it's so old. And I work on a lot of AI stuff and 3D, and I just couldn't do certain things with my phone. So I have to, like LiDAR, like I can
Michelle, one
scan a
question:
3D object.
did it still have something to wind it up?
No, I basically it probably does. I I traded in for a new phone. It's actually not that bad, but I just haven't done it, and so I finally did. And it's for some reason I still miss my old phone just because I feel like I'm more familiar with its size, and everything. But even though it's a new phone, I still feel like it's still a stranger to me. I know it sounds really weird.
Oh, I see.
Well, I think our most intimate thing is probably our phone, right? Especially in this day and age.
That is true. That is true. So save your money, have a lot of cash, because I just realized I went through a little dry spell, and basically I had to make sure that I have money in the bank for a few months. If you are an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, you have to have that. There's no way around the safety net, the safety cushion. And if it's just your own personal savings, you just have to do that.
Yeah. I think we spoke about that. And then let's talk about AI. AI seems to be super hot right now. And for me, since I've been playing with AI for the last decade, I like it's not like a big surprise to me, but it seems like it for the first time everyone have access to it. So everyone is just really, like everywhere from Facebook to Twitter, everyone talks about is AI.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts about that?
AI was already hot a few years ago. What is right
Yeah.
now, even in the mainstream news here in Germany, is ChatGPT.
Yeah.
That may be the only AI tool a lot of people know. I have to tell you, I've seen the AI age coming, and it was for me basically the same thing all over, like cloud first, like app, like AI. So basically, at the beginning, everybody was in the cloud. Every startup was born in the cloud. Then every startup also had an app one way or another. And now every startup is using AI. I do believe that's a technical development you cannot and you should not stop, because AI is useful in some areas, but I do believe if you really want to replace employees with it, you may need to wait a few more years, maybe decades, to do that.
Yeah. I think it's not AIs are not perfect yet. In art, the hands and the eyes aren't they don't get it yet because those are very complex.
Mhm.
Even for an artist to draw a hand, even for an artist to draw an eye. I think an eye is easier to draw for an artist, but AI doesn't really get eyes yet. And I think for coding, I think I see different very minor areas. I think there is still misinformation in AI, and I think that's something that we should be kind of conscious of.
Mhm.
The bias as well as the misinformation.
Mhm. Yes, and I do believe, like most companies that claim to use AI, they'll have some tiny function, like 1% of the code is using some AI tool or library from third party, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the data is, I mean, and it makes sense because it uses data from consciousness, right? That is global and social constructs. And so a
Mhm.
lot of it is really dependent on what the world thinks. And then society may not be right. And I read an article that criminals are already using AI to enter the dark web, which is going to be dangerous. I mean, so, and it's then the question is, does the AI creator have any responsibility to society when they know or should have known, right, that their technology is used to enhance the bad, and then also for other countries that create weapons of mass destruction, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's just a double-edged sword sometimes. I think it allows us and augments us in terms of information, but at the same time it could create weapons and bad things that could destroy us as well. And I think it's really something that we got to be careful for. And it's just kind of interesting. And if we want AI to be ethical, should humans be also ethical?
That actually reminded me when you talked about using AI for nefarious purposes. That really reminded me because I did an apprenticeship in a bank, like a vocational training. And at this time, the color copy machines got so good that they made fake money with it. And so
Mm-hmm.
the producer of the photocopier, the Xerox of the world, and the others had to react and basically eliminate this option. And I do believe
Yeah.
we'll go down a similar path with AI, even though that could potentially be much more dangerous. But I do believe that's the usual technical development, because every time you have some new development, there is an idiot and is trying to figure out what else you can do with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. I
If I
think
learned something in my not too long life, people always have stupid ideas.
sounds awesome. I think that could be it for today. Joel, what do you think? Do you wanted to add any?
It was a pleasure talking to you. We are actually going to publish this for the Chinese New Year. So, 新年好, 新年好, Happy New Year. And as we said, you don't need one year to end or New Year to start to make a significant change in your life. You can always start with a new resolution. By the way, one question I would have is, how do you discover the tools, the changes, the things you want to do in your life? Because for me, admittedly, YouTube has been a pretty good source, because I find a lot of interviews with interesting authors, ideas from Stoic philosophers, or wrap ups of good books there in a few minutes. And so it has become one of the engines driving my self improvement, I have to admit.
Yeah, I think like for me, I read a lot of books, right? I probably have over 500 books in Audible, and then like I think one in my room is library. And I think like I always pursue my passion and things I like to do. That kind of helps me start what I start, right? There's just no way I will buy a ice hockey arena, because I don't skate, you know what I mean? But if you really love ice hockey, that's something that you might think about, right? I began making duty jewelry, and so I'm into physical jewelry as a result of that. And I think like activities that you enjoy and some type of life purpose is different, but I think sometimes you will discover your life purpose and start on it in your journey. I think it's not something that me or maybe Joe could tell you what it is. I think it's something that you would want to discover for yourself.
Also, books are my friend, and I just realized I have just a few books shy of 600 audiobooks I've listened to on my
Awesome.
favorite app. Yeah, a lot of stuff totally nothing to do with self improvement, like Expeditionary Force, science fiction, Harry Potter, for the Germans, Thomas Mann, Die Buddenbrooks, Tom Clancy. Tom Clancy. I started liking him even more and stuff like this. So that is as we said, you don't always have to be productive, but from some really interesting books, you always get good ideas.
Yeah, yeah. I split my literature with my business books. So my Audible is all business books because you don't want I don't want to read literature. I don't want to hear literature. I want to read literature. I want to hear, like, if something that you wanted to teach me, I want to hear about it that way because it's not literature. But I usually wanted to read literature because I love like style, the elements of style, and I love writing. So for me, it's just a little bit different. And I have like a whole process where I have Kindles for reading and then Audibles, Fire for listening. And I think like another thing I wanted to do is, like this year, is to play with some of I went to CES and I like love like Hey Disney, which is a white label from Alexa. And like then I was just like, I know, I think some of the Startup Radio's episodes are as in Alexa. And for me, I would love to create some Alexa skills. That would be fun, and
I'm
it's
in.
not something that,
I'm in.
yeah, yeah, it's not something that I'm just gonna do it for fun, and also spending time with my family, getting into coding more, that would be something that I kind of inspired to this year.
Mhm.
I've been doing it for the last couple of years because of hibernation, but I
Mhm.
think I kind of love those things and I kind of missed it. So
I feel like there is a need to say this content is neither sponsored by Amazon nor by Google or YouTube.
it's not. I mean, we wish that they would sponsor us, by the way, but they're not sponsoring us, and so we're just being authentic.
Exactly. So, with this good mood, I would say it was a pleasure talking to you. Thank you very much. 谢谢. And Happy New Year. And looking forward to have another discussion towards the end of this quarter. But guys, we have one question for you because when we've been sitting together here digitally and thinking about this episode, would you rather have us to wing it like we did or prepare the podcast a little bit more? That's a question you can always reply at the starting why Twitter account or send us an email. We'll link the email address down here.
Awesome. Thank you. 新年
Thank
快
you
乐.
guys.
Happy
新
New
年好.
Year.
Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
再见.